Good evening, everyone. This evening, Rodney has a sermon that he would like to share on eating of the tree of life. In brackets, he has communion. So I'll quickly hand you over to him to elaborate.
So good night everyone, I'll just be starting my sermon here, which is from Genesis chapter 2 verse 17 in the English Standard Version, which says, "But of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in that day that you eat of it you shall surely die," right? Everybody know that story. That's when God told them not to eat of the tree. And I don't know how everybody think is an apple tree or not. I guess they should throw the saying out for apple a day keeps the doctor away. Right, but there's no as the knowledge of good and evil which everybody in this world trying to master, right? So there was also a tree of life, and you'll see it here, which is in Revelation chapter 2 verse 7 in the New Living Translation, which says, "Anyone with ears to hear must listen to the Spirit and understand what he is saying to the churches. To everyone who is victorious I will give fruit from the tree of life in the paradise of God." Right, so now who is the tree of life? Right? I excuse my voice every time I have an important sermon to do. I don't know, like the devil keep attacking my throat. I don't know. Right, so we'll see here in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 24 in the Amplified, which says, "And when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, 'This represents my body, which is offered as a sacrifice for you. Do this in affectionate remembrance of me.'" Right, so Jesus was talking about his body and stuff there, right? And which can be related to Genesis and Revelation. Right, so now how and why people be eating something that represents Jesus, right? Or even Jesus in essence, right? Because it seems really gross to a lot of people, right, to be eating something that is somebody, right? But remember that the bread that fell from the sky in the desert, right? When the children of Israel was in the desert for 40 years, that was Jesus. Jesus said, "I am the bread of life." Right? In John chapter 6 verse 51, also the water and all these things that they was drinking of, all those things represented Jesus and all these things within the desert, right? Right, so John chapter 6 verse 51 in New International Version says, "I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever. This bread is my flesh, which I will give for the life of the world." Right? So there's a lot of spiritual implications that we mightn't know exactly, but just go with what God says, right? And the details to everything will be explained someday, but that's when the Lord is ready to do that in his own special way in your life, or maybe when everybody sees him face to face one day, right? So in John chapter 14 verse 6, it's in the New Living Translation, Jesus, it says, Jesus told him, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Right, so no one can come to the Father except through me. Right, so Jesus said that. So here you can see Jesus being life, and to accept him is to accept life. Right, to do certain things like eating of the tree of life is to be with him. Right, so I hope you see how I tie in the tree of life together with Jesus and all these things. How everything added up together, right? So in John chapter 1 verse 17 in the King James Bible, it says, "For the law was given by Moses, but grace and truth came by Jesus Christ." Right, so grace and truth came through Jesus, right? And he is truth. Right, so what I'm saying, or linking all or any particular thing is truth, whether we accept it or not. So living a lie will helps the devil, right? So everything that you see that are tying together with Jesus and the communion and his body and all these things, that is the truth, right? According to the Bible, right? So in John chapter 10 verse 10 in the Amplified, it says, "The thief comes only in order to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have and enjoy life and have it in abundance to the full till it overflows." Right, so here we could see the devil don't want you doing many things, right? Because he don't want you doing many things, and taking the communion is one of them, right? Because all of these scriptures, if you put it together in one accord, you could study it yourself. It shows the death, the burial, and resurrection of Jesus, right? And it speaks of the communion, right? Which it basically speaks of the communion that every believer should be partaking of, right? So Jesus is the sacrifice for once and for all, and in the communion we are taking in that sacrifice as well, right? And people want to limit the sacrifice for a little bit, but did you know that David and the other kings did thousands of sacrifices per day, right? So I guess you could see, imagine taking communion for 1,000 times a day, right? So particularly on special occasions, right? But however, there were daily sacrifices being done during that era with David and all these kings, right? So I'm not sure if you see the value of the communion as yet, but some people say you can't partake of the communion if there's sin in your life, right? So there's sin in everybody's life, whether you like it or not, right? But instead of running from God, take of the communion and run to Him, right? The animal sacrifices were particularly done when people did bad, mean things, right? So that doesn't say something on its own, right? So doesn't that say something on its own, right? Because so partake part of the communion on bad days, and on particularly bad days too, right? And even in your good days too, right? Because you know, even when you're sick and all these things, when you're down at your most, that's when you're quoting the word, right? So how you could be quoting the word and trying to get closer to God, but you're hiding from the communion and all these things as well, right? Even when you're down and bad, no matter what, still take the communion, right? Because that's life you are taking in, right? And if you're taking in life and sin is death, then you'll only be purging yourself of sinful things, right? Also giving you real life, right? And that will be and that real life will be it will be purging away all these things that be plaguing your body and all these things, right? Now I broke it down into the basic understanding for the general person, so some things mightn't connect to some people, but I just wanted it for a basic understanding for a lot of people, right? So people that taught you not to partake of the communion, or even limited dramatically the usage of it, has been taught by the devil, tricked, or just don't know better, right? Because a lot of people just don't know better, right? Can't really blame them, right? So even the Bible said to partake part of the communion as often as possible, right? So even Paul from the Bible went from house to house taking communion in each house in a village, right? And I don't know if you know how much that would be in a single day. That might have been tens of houses, maybe hundreds of houses, who knows, right? And that's within a single day, right? And he had the power of God operating strongly in his life, as many people read from the Bible. And I mean, if you want the power of God in your life too, then you could maybe copy these folks like Paul, and you'll maybe get a bit more results, right? And your body is fallen, so is this world, right? No matter what your body fall on, until you get that, I guess you could say, get that full revelation on the appointed time, right? But whatever happen, but always remember God. But whatever God teaches you, says to do, it will help you in some way, and it's not going to hurt you, right? Because God out to help people and He's not out to hurt them. No matter sometimes you might go through some hurt, it is always build you stronger. Right? And many people laugh at the communion or even taking it twice or even more for the day, but if you're laughing at people doing that now, then you had to be laughing at Paul and the apostles too, if for doing that back in those times too, right? Because they did it under the new covenant, right? So to be laughing at people now is to be laughing at everything you're reading in the Bible, right? So take the communion. Remember, it will be life to your body, and what you believe about God does affect you. So do take note when you do decide to take the communion, right? And so just later, and I hope this helps someone, but this might be for someone in particular, and whoever that might be. So just take part of the communion and do know that it does help, and